Langley is a hard act to follow.
She was great.
Yes, so much information. And I'm not a public speaker, so I have to refer to a lot of notes.
Can you hear in the back?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you say no? Try to move that a little teeny closer.
People always ask, what brought you to Steamboat Springs? And my answer is Whiteman School. Then it was the Whiteman Gaylord School, and now the Steamboat Mountain School. My husband George and I first met Lowell Whiteman on a cold December day in 1957, having just driven up the snowy canyon of a road through Strawberry Park, our VW Bug dwarfed by snowbanks on either side. We had come to interview for jobs. At the time, we were living near Phoenix at the American Institute for Foreign Trade, now known as the Thunderbird School of Global Management, where George was enrolled in the Latin American Studies program. While browsing through a teacher's magazine in the library one day, an advertisement caught his eye. Wanted, teacher of history and Spanish at a new prep school in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. Live on campus in a rustic setting. Horseback riding, skiing, 2 months in Mexico in the spring. That was the gist of it. We knew about Steamboat Springs, having attended the 1956 Winter Olympics in Cortina, Italy, where several members of the U.S. ski team were from Ski Town, USA. George and I discussed the pros and cons of answering the ad, as he had other options. George had taken and passed the written Foreign Service exam and was scheduled to take the oral exam the following summer. Nevertheless, the ad was enticing, and what did we have to lose? He called the school, sent a resume, and scheduled an interview during Christmas break. It turned out that the school was also looking for house parents for the boys' dorm. When we arrived at the Whiteman Gaylord School, we were greeted by Lowell Whiteman and Perry Hendricks, Lowell's partner and business manager. A third partner, Garth Gaylord, was already out of the picture, and we never did meet him. However, his name stuck for the first 2 years of the school. It then became known simply as the Whiteman School, and many years later as the Lowell Whiteman School. When a few years ago the name was again changed to the more generic Steamboat Mountain School, I was inspired to write down some of my memories of our time there. I titled it, What's in a Name? A work still in progress, and I'll read some excerpts from it here. I am going to spend some time on Lowell's background because I realize that there are a lot of people here now who don't remember there ever even was a Lowell Whiteman. And nobody remembers there was a Garth Gaylord. So. Though Lowell wore a coat and tie for that occasion, I still picture him in his black cowboy hat and Western attire, lean and ruggedly handsome in a Marlboro sort of way. To give some background, Lowell Whiteman was born in Hayden, Colorado in 1918, son of Northwest Colorado pioneers. He grew up in Southern California, his father having moved there to operate a grocery store. He attended Norton School for Boys, a private prep school in Claremont, where he was high school student body president and captain of the football team. Following graduation, he traveled in Europe and attended the 1936 Olympics in Berlin. Footnote, Routt County rancher and ski area developer John Fetcher also attended the 1936 Olympics, though he and Lowell would not meet again meet at all until many years later. Lowell received his BA degree from Pomona College and served as his class president. He later took graduate courses in education at the University of Colorado. Lowell's interest in theater began in high school. where his best friend and roommate was Bill Beadle, who was to become famous as the actor William Holden. They later performed together at the Pasadena Playhouse. During his college years, Lowell returned to Colorado during summer vacations to work at the Perry Mansfield Performing Arts Camp in Steamboat Springs. In addition to teaching and doing odd jobs, he acted in many of the theatrical performances put on by the camp, where Julie Harris was a frequent leading lady. He also studied acting under Lee Strasberg at the American Theater Wing in New York City, and dancing with Hanya Holm, a connections he made through Perry Mansfield. After college, his acting ability earned him a job as the radio announcer for CBS Hollywood, working with Chet Huntley and reporting news of the bombing of Pearl Harbor in 1941. During the World War II, Lowell served 4 years as a lieutenant in the U.S. Navy, commanding landing craft in the invasions of North Africa, Sicily, Salerno, Anzio, Elba, and southern France. He was awarded a Medal of Commendation for his wartime exploits. After the war, Lowell returned briefly to Southern California, but he dreamed of opening a boys' camp in Colorado, a dream encouraged by Portia Mansfield and Charlotte Perry, and by his mother and Hayden, who presented him with a gift of 80 acres in the Upper Strawberry Park to make the dream a reality. Work on the camp began. Lowell built much of the original lodge by himself, as well as several outbuildings. The Lowell Whiteman Ranch Camp opened in 1948 with 8 campers, but grew rapidly in the following summers, mostly due to word of mouth, as many of the boys were brothers of girls who attended Perry Mansfield. The camp was the forerunner of the Whiteman Gaylord School, which opened its doors to 26 boarding students. There were 21 boys and 5 girls in the fall of 1957. We arrived for our interview that December. By the time Lowell finished showing us around and telling us of his plans for the school, we were sold. We returned to Phoenix to finish out the semester, then back to Steamboat in January with all our worldly possessions piled in our VW bug and our skis in a rack on the back. George and I moved into our room next to the boys' dorm in a wing off the main lodge, a rustic log building. The lodge was also contained the dining room, kitchen, offices, furnace room, and a small but cozy faculty lounge, and another bedroom occupied by fellow teacher and dorm parent Gertrude Fetcher, who was to become our lifelong best friend. The lodge burned down in a spectacular fire in 1976. With a lot of help from the community and beyond, the school rose again from the ashes and is still going strong. The girls were housed at Lake Trail Guest Ranch down the valley base of Buffalo Pass. It later became the Bear Pole Ranch, and now it's the Uzoa Bible Church. Classes were held in dressing rooms at the Julie Harris Theater in Perry Mansfield, heated only by the central fireplace. During the winter, students bundled up, with everyone huddled around the fireplace drinking hot chocolate during morning break. Afternoons were devoted to skiing at Allison and other activities. Everyone ate lunch at the school and dinner was at Lake Trail. Boys were required to wear coats and ties to dinner, and the girls, dresses and skirts, a tradition that continued all during our tenure at Whiteman and beyond. I don't think they do anymore. Students were shuttled back and forth in the school's 3 used VW buses. After dinner, the boys were bused back to the school again, where they buckled down for study hall in the dining room. One of my jobs was to help out in the office, typing letters for Perry and Lowell, and answering the phones. Steamboat did not yet have dialed telephones. All calls went through the local operator. Most people had party lines, so there was a lot of listening in. If the people you were calling didn't happen to be at home, the operator could often tell you where they were. In addition to no dial phones, Steamboat also had no stoplights on Main Street. Nobody called it Lincoln Avenue. However, Allison Hill was the only ski area. Mount Harris was still a town. A trip to Denver was a longer trek in those days, as the new Rabbiteers Pass was still under construction, ironing out the many hairpin turns on the west side. That meant going via Gore Pass, then over either Berthoud or Loveland Pass, as the Eisenhower Tunnel had not yet been built. Another option was to take the train. The Yampa Valley Mail still ran between Denver's Union Station and Craig, a longer, 6 hours, I think, but more scenic trip and more relaxing trip. The depot was still a depot. The back room where writers and other groups now meet was the baggage room. The ticket office was in the small room off what is now the front gallery, and was then the waiting room, furnished with wooden benches. I think there's still one of those benches in the back room at the baggage room. The ticket office was off the small room in what is now the front gallery, and was then the waiting room. I think I said that. I can still picture the ticket master, Mr. Glenn Thorpe, a gruff man who in his other life acted in local theater productions. Dining choices in Steamboat were limited to the Ski Inn and Harbor Hill Hotel. We were limited, the Ski Inn and Harbor Hotel being among the few restaurants. The place to go was the Sunday night buffet at the Cosgriff Hotel in Craig. The uranium boom in Maybelle was at its peak. Craig was prospering, and the Cosgriff Hotel was the hub of all social activity. The lavish Sunday buffet featured oysters on the half shell, flown in on a private plane, mountains of shrimp, roast beef, roast turkeys, roast beef sliced to order, an array of salads and side dishes, and if you had any room left, a choice of mouth-watering desserts. Every week there was a new ice sculpture carved by the Italian chef. The Harbor Hotel, the Ski Inn, and the Cosgriff Hotel are all now long gone. That first winter passed quickly. We skied often at Allison. It wasn't Austria, but we were happy to be skiing on the hill where so many Olympians had trained. One day Lowell invited Buddy and skier Werner out to the school to talk to the students and faculty. They told us about Jim Temple's dream of building a ski area on Storm Mountain and predicted it would one day become a world-class ski resort. On one occasion, Lowell invited several of the town's elite citizens to the school for dinner. Bank president, mayor, Whiteman board, and board members and so forth. I don't know where the students were. I think they must have been during their holiday. Unfortunately, the cook, Ruby Wright, became ill at the last minute, and it fell to Gertrude, George, and me to take over. Gertrude's experience cooking for Fetcher ranch hands saved the day. She and I made dressing and stuffed the turkeys the night before. George got up at 4 in the morning to put them in the oven. Following Gertrude's directions, we spent the day cooking. Somehow we pulled it off, and the dinner was declared a success. After dinner was finished, the three of us headed to town in the Harbor Hotel. The next day, it was all over Steamboat that 3 Whiteman teachers were seen drinking martinis in the harbor bar. At that time, it was against regulations for Steamboat's public school teachers to drink in bars. Times have changed. Oh, thank you. I'm glad I have my daughters here today.
I'm glad she writes.
Yeah. When mud season approached, the entire school packed up and headed for San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, for 2 months. The only affordable way to get there was to drive, so students were loaded into the school's used VW buses for the long trip down from Steamboat Springs. With a World War II surplus weapons carrier for the books. They made it with only a few breakdowns along the way. George and I were spared the bus trips since there wasn't room for everyone. Instead, we, Lucy Bogue, and Gertrude drove to Houston, where we caught a KLM flight to Mexico City, then a taxi for the 4-hour drive to San Miguel. In my former life, I had traveled a lot on ships and planes, but I'd never flown on a commercial airplane. For me, it was an exciting event, my heart racing as the plane roared down the runway for takeoff. In those days, one still dressed up to fly. Skirt, gloves, maybe a hat. Being an airline stewardess was considered a glamorous job, and all were pretty and young. On the dinner tray, there was usually a complimentary package of 3 cigarettes, alongside the stainless steel silverware and linen napkins. You were welcome to light up. The term economy class had not yet come into use. Lowell chose San Miguel for the school on the recommendation of Portia Mansfield, who had made a dance film there. Located in Mexico's hilly central highlands, the town was well established as an artist colony in the 1950s, but was not yet the expat retirement mecca, mostly Americans, that it became in later years. Because it was relatively hard to get there in those days, it also didn't attract many short-term tourists. During the first year, the Whiteman Gaylord took over the Posada de los Monos, a converted convent down the hill from El Jardín. Bathrooms featured hand-painted Mexican tiles. Its terraces commanded views over the valley. Every evening at sunset, clouds of twittering blackbirds filled the sky, then settled into the trees for the night. Steamboat Springs seemed far away. Whiteman students and faculty soon fell into the routine of school in San Miguel. Classes were held in flowery patios instead of icy dressing rooms. We all fell in love with Mexico. Thus our 2 months in San Miguel slipped pleasantly by. We returned to Steamboat to find spring well underway. The countryside we had only seen in winter was now emerald green, dotted with calves and tiny lambs. Newly leafed out aspen wrapped the hillsides in a haze of paler green. Dogtooth violets and bluebells were blooming, and robins were everywhere. The grand finale of the Whiteman school year was a 3-day raft trip down the Yampa and Green Rivers with Buzz Hatch from Laramie, the first commercial raft trip owner operator in the area.
Sorry, she can't read my writing scribbled on there.
Lowell invited Portia Mansfield and Charlotte Perry and Helen Smith to come along. And George and I invited my bachelor uncle Babe, who lived with his sister and Craig. He wasn't much of an adventuresome person, so we weren't sure he would come, but he did, and he talked about it for the rest of his long life. Our 3 rafts put in at Lily Park near Maybelle. The weather could not have been more perfect. Sunny and warm all 3 days. The river was high with spring runoff, the floating smooth, and except through the rapids. We did not see another raft or boat until late the second day, when we reached the confluence of the Yampa and Green at Echo Park. We camped the first night at Brown's Hole and were the only ones there. We stopped at Pat's Hole for a while the second day. There I saw my first petroglyphs and my first eagle. That afternoon we hit a particularly rough rapid. Our raft nearly folded in 2, and I was sure it was going to flip. We were all hanging on for dear life. All that is except Portia, who was standing in the front with her movie camera, filming away. After school was out in June, George flew to Atlanta to take the Foreign Service exam as planned. He passed, then asked for a year's extension as we weren't quite ready to leave Steamboat and Whiteman School. We stayed on in our room at the lodge for what was the last summer of Lowell's boys' camp. George tutored some of the campers and assisted with pack trips into the wilderness. One evening we attended a dazzling performance of Kismet at Perry Mansfield and met Eleanor Bliss, who was to become a great friend. In the fall, George and I moved to an attic apartment on 3rd Street in town. The house has since been torn down. The school needed our room for other purposes, and we wanted to be more independent. The apartment was the first place of our own. I shopped at one of the 2 grocery stores, Safeway and Boys Market. Safeway was located on the corner of Highway 40 and 11th Street. And it later moved to where the post office is now, and then to its current location. And Boys Market was on 9th Street, around the corner from Lion Drug, in the building that is now the smoke shop. And it was next door to the post office, which was right on 9th Street at that time, and next to the liquor store. We began to feel more a part of the town. Lowell introduced us to local author John Burroughs, who at that time was living as a bachelor in his log house on Aspen Street. John was a great talker and storyteller, and we were a willing audience. We spent many evenings around his fire, hearing about his adventures growing up in Steamboat and about his wartime ordeals. While working as a civilian engineer in the Philippines, he was captured by the Japanese. He endured the Bataan Death March and imprisonment and lived to tell about it. John gave us copies of his books. He was still working on the award-winning book, Where the Old West Stayed Young, published in 1962. He gave us a copy of that too, which I still cherish. Other evenings were spent with Lucy Bogue's family at their home on the corner of Oak and 6th Street. In 1969, after the Bogues had moved, that house was the location of Steamboat's first bookstore, the Brown Book Corner. The owner was Florence Brown. The owner, Florence Brown, became interested in Steamboat when her son Kevin was a student at Whiteman School. After her husband died, she moved from Denver to open the bookstore with the help of Kevin and her daughter Karen. It soon became a gathering spot for the town's book lovers and intellectuals. Those of us who were here at the time remember it fondly. That brown house is still there. The school's enrollment increased to 39 the second year, with 10 girls and 29 boys. There were no day students until after the fire. The boys liked their new dorm, which had been, the barn had been converted into the new book during that summer, during the the new boys' dorm, the barn. The schools, the boys liked their new dorm, though some complained it still smelled like a barn. Their fall sport was soccer, played on a field on top of the hill across the wet road. They competed with teams from prep schools in Denver and the Rocky Mountain School in Carbondale. Soccer was a novelty in Steamboat at that time. The girls remained at Lake Trail and did not play soccer, not then considered a girls' sport. The fall semester passed quickly. Mud season found us again in San Miguel. We left Whiteman in summer of 1959. As planned, George joined the Foreign Service, and our next 5 years were spent in Washington, D.C., Rotterdam, and Cali, Colombia. Our 3 daughters were born during that time. Meanwhile, Lucy Bogue, George's colleague at Whiteman School, had started a college in Steamboat, Yampa Valley College, precursor to Colorado Mountain College. She urged George to come back and head up the International Studies department. He did, and he taught under all of its ownerships until his retirement as Professor Emeritus in 1991. When we arrived back in Steamboat in 1964, the campus on the hill had not been built. Students were lodged in houses the college had acquired around town. Classes were held in churches. A small restaurant on Main Street was taken over as the cafeteria and also served as a meeting room. The administration office was in the Forest Service building on the corner across from the park, next to the post office, which had by that time moved to where
It was a Steamboat pilot building.
Oh, yeah, the pilot building, that's what.
Right.
But the old Steamboat pilot.
Old Steamboat pilot.
Pilot.
Which is sports. They use
Oh,
sports-
boomerang.
Boomerang.
That
That's
boomerang sport, yeah.
Boomerang.
That's right.
Yeah.
Places have changed so many times.
Yeah.
Lucy had the dream of making the college an international center, and to that end she enrolled several foreign students. During those early years there were students from Norway, France, Kenya, South Africa, Peru, Bolivia, Syria, Japan, Saudi Arabia, and others. They were well received and made quite an impact on what was then the small town of Steamboat Springs. Oh, then I have to.
We couldn't get it all. We couldn't get it all on one
I
document.
have to. This is another document.
Like the college.
Like the college, the ski area was still in its infancy. On-mountain facilities consisted of a couple of picnic tables at Thunderhead. Occasionally, George would teach his college German classes up there, then everyone skied down. There were never any lift lines. I once skied vagabond from top to bottom on a perfect powder day and without meeting another person. When we finished skiing for the day we just stuck our skis in the snow bank by the A-frame for the next time. Where am I talking about the A-frame?
I think we actually.
You got it on there.
Excuse us for a moment. Oh, here. I think I should have handed it to you right there. There you go.
Oh, okay. There were only 3 lifts. Christie 1, originally called Bear Claw, Thunderhead, and the Headwall Palma, but there was no shortage of champagne powder. Base area facilities consisted of an A-frame building by the Christie lift. Upstairs, Ralph's cell sold pizza, hot dogs, and beer. The lower level housed the ski patrol building room and Skeeter Wormer's Storm Hut ski shop and ski school. On sunny days, the A-frame deck was a favorite après-ski gathering spot. I think I have it someplace with.
Yeah, and, oh, where was that?
I'll show you that one.
This one. The A-frame?
Just,
We can pass that on.
oh no, you can look at these after. This is a picture of the A-frame with the skis stuck in the snow.
And these were taken from, this was a silver bulletin that Mom was also responsible for publishing or writing for when she worked at the ski area for a lot of her career. So a lot of these stories and pictures, including some of the stuff she's describing about the cost of the ski area.
I was the editor, so I kept copies.
So these are worth looking through. She only grabbed a couple, but. Charlie Swinehart.
Yeah, the ticket office in an adjacent hut was a one-person operation, and that person was Charlie Swinehart. She ran the whole show and was a scary secretary beside. That winter, an all-day lift ticket cost $3.75. A season pass went for $75, which seemed like a lot of money in those days. Forgot your pass? No problem. Charlie knew everyone and just checked your name off the list.
I'll just read this right here. So in one of these flyers that she has an advertisement from 1963, and you can read the rates right there.
1963.
Well, this ad was 1963.
This part?
Just read the ad.
Oh, here's the ski packages. 7-day ski packages were advertised for $43.35, including lodging, lift tickets, and round-trip train transportation from Denver on the Yampa Valley Vista Dome. And this is a copy of the actual brochure, front and back, which I found in John Fetcher's file.
Okay, I think this one is pretty amazing. I just flipped it. Yeah, I think.
I have my coaches here. I felt well outfitted in my black stretch Bogner ski pants, double lace Austrian leather boots and laminated wood Fisher skis with offset steel edges and bear claw bindings. When I later upgraded to early model safety bindings with cumbersome safety straps, I never felt quite as safe as I did in those bear traps.
And then you're back. You're back here.
When we returned to Steamboat in 1964, we knew we wanted to stay, so we bought a lot in the Valverde subdivision off Fish Creek Road for $1,500. People thought it was a lot of money because it sold for $700 just a year or two before. With a $18,000 Veterans Administration loan, we built a modest house in which I still live. It was on the very edge of town. We looked out on hayfields and horses. Looking toward Mount Werner, there were no buildings between us and the ski area. Access was by the old Fish Creek Road, east of the pool, which was steeper and unpaved. When spring thaw came, it was easy to see why they called it mud season. A building in town I'd like to mention was the original one on the corner of 5th and Lincoln, where the bike shop now is. It was city-owned and it served as the civic center. Many organizations held meetings and events there. There was a stage and local theater groups gave performances. Charlotte Perry directed several plays there. I remember an outstanding performance of Oklahoma, starring several local luminaries. I believe the library was also in that building, I think, before it moved to its new location. When the city moved on, the building was sold to some local businessmen, and it became the Good News Building, housing a real estate office and several offices, a sewing shop, a hair salon, and the popular 5th Street Cafe. The Good News Building and a hair salon too, and the Good News Building burned down in 1994 in another spectacular fire and explosion that sent 18 people to the hospital and caused the entire evacuation of the entire downtown. Another great place that's seen a lot of changes in our time is a swimming pool. When we came here, the hot pool was indoors. And there were also a few private pools that you could rent. And we were sorry to see those go. They were very nice. And they were bigger than a hot tub. Those went when they changed built. We were sorry to see them go. The lap pool was where it was until this latest change, although it underwent several renovations. When we were at Whiteman, there was a lawn around the lap pool where families brought picnics. On the other side of Spring Creek, where the post office is now, there was a motel with several cabins. Dorothy Wither, Grand Dame of Steamboat, was a great backer of the pool. She also started the museum, as Danny told you last week. She was a great backer of the pool and one of those who established the Steamboat Health and Recreation Association, better known as Health and Rec, until the name was changed to Old Town Hot Springs a few years ago. Dorothy went to the pool every morning at 5:30. She urged us to join her, as we did, and we did, along with mooring barrows and a few other hardy souls. Dorothy and George each had a key to the front door. So one of them unlocked it and locked it again when we left. We didn't worry about lifeguards.
Mom still swims.
I still go there.
Still swims.
She's one of the
And
hardy
we're
souls.
sometimes caught saying it's the inside pool, but
Anyway,
yeah.
yeah, I still go 5 mornings a week, but at 6 o'clock because the pools don't open until 6.
You don't have a key. You have to go back.
And I don't have a key. The exercise rooms do open at 5:30. Well, I'm sure there would be a lot more, but I think I've said enough. Maybe my daughters have something to...
And we are not writers like our mother, so
Yeah,
ours
yeah.
will be very short. I think my sister and I just kind of chose to talk very briefly about how we fit into this picture. I would describe my childhood as unique and idyllic childhood. I mean, I didn't even realize it when I was living it. I do remember going to preschool here, Mrs. Zuschlag's preschool, right across from Soda Creek. I think it was the only preschool in town.
That was the first.
Yeah, in town.
That was the first
I was
year.
very young, so I don't remember much about it.
It was, I think, the first year of kindergarten. Too.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
maybe.
it was because there was only, they didn't have the all-day kindergarten, they only had half day, and it was in the morning. And so
That was
you would
later.
go, you'd walk across, wouldn't you walk
You can
across the
still
street
walk across it.
to
It's
Mrs.
still-
Zuschlag's, but we called her Mrs. Juicelog because we couldn't say Zuschlag. Yeah.
And then, so really my first real memory, besides that, being very young, was driving up Fish Creek Falls Road when we came back from Pittsburgh. So I had gone to kindergarten in first grade in Pittsburgh when my dad was doing his studying for his, or getting his PhD. And so I remember
Get his
saying,
PhD.
oh, well, whatever he was doing. He was studying in Pittsburgh. And I just remember going up Valverdant Road, which seemed like you're going up into the mountains, and saying, are we there yet? And they're saying, yeah, we're almost there. And I just got so excited because I really didn't remember this. And it was forest, fields, and these huge boulders, magnificent boulders strewn all along, which are still there. They're just now surrounded by
Houses.
By houses.
And all the roads were dirt. They were still dirt.
So with that setting, I would describe myself as having been a wild child, surrounded by culture of parents, but my childhood was one of being kind of wild child. We know that we had every rock, and not just boulders, these were boulders you could sit and picnic on. Some had cracks in them that you could climb in. Everyone was named, and Mom could have drawn a map of all the boulders. And some always, went all the way back
because
to...
they were out there.
They were out there, and more than once she would have to come and find us at the designated boulder.
And they were forts. We made forts
Yeah,
out of
they-
these
they had
places.
forts.
I mean, they were really cool forts.
My parents humored us. Dad built me a Daniel Boone hut when he was my idol at that time.
Daniel Boone.
Daniel Boone hut. It's now been converted it later was converted into his hut where he actually would go and do his schoolwork and get away from. I don't know actually.
Get away from us,
I don't know if
really.
it was to get away from us or if Mom wanted a place where he could just set his papers out. Whatever it is, that became his hut. I do remember fishing in Spring Creek. And I know Spring Creek is still a treasure here in Steamboat, but at that time it was just so remote. And I had a little, since there was not the new Fish Creek Falls Road, we had a trail, and I would just kind of wander around. Dad would give me a stick and some fishing line, and I'd just come up with that, a whole slew of little Berkeys, which I'm not sure were eating size, but Dad always made me we ate everyone, let me just say that. Valverdant at the time, I don't know, were there about 5 houses?
Yeah, there weren't very many.
Maybe 5 houses.
Vales,
There were more than that.
All of the kids, and then there was nothing beyond Valverdant, or nothing on the way up to Valverdant, except maybe one ranch house out in the field. Field was horses, and then you could just see the mountain from there. So it just was very, very different than it is now. We had I still remember their number. We had one bus, and it was
like a little tiny bus.
Like a Ford Explorer.
Yeah.
Bus number 9, Valverdant would pick up all the kids in the neighborhood. The other things, just Pine Grove. The Pine Grove restaurant was owned by the Stetsons at the time, and it was a barn. And I remember actually shoveling poop from the, out the, into a truck with my friend who lived in Valverdant
The
at the time.
Stetsons lived in Valverdant, so you and Jay were good friends. Didn't you used to jump off the hayloft?
Yep, we used to
Into
jump
the
off the
pile
hayloft,
after they shoveled the poop.
That's a memory. Of course, we grew up on skis, but old wooden skis. I don't know whether all families did it. At least at that time, at the beginning, it was old wooden skis and hand-me-downs. It didn't become cool. Skiing didn't become cool until a little bit later, like when we started hitting middle school, and that's when people started coming in, and maybe they had the newest skis, and we realized that ours weren't the newest skis. But we grew up thinking we had the best, and we really did. The one thing I was unaware about, and this, I'll turn it over to you in a minute, is just that how surrounded, I knew we had it good, but I didn't realize that all these, the rich tapestry of people that were our elders as we grew up. I mean, I remember all of these names, and having been to your talk last week just about, Portia and Lowell and all of these people we just had in our life, and they were part of our, my parents' family friends who we took for granted, but enjoyed, and they doted on us, and now I realize how lucky we were. So it was just a wonderful experience, and all I can say is just Steamboat kind of grew up with me. I grew up and Steamboat grew up, and as I grew up. So
well, I'll just have a few things to add, but I do remember everything was dirt. I mean, we have old pictures of us, walking to the bus stop, which was at the corner of Valverdant, at the very top of Fish Creek Falls Road, where the second Valverdant sign is, where we would catch that little bus. And that bus would go all the way up, almost to Fish Creek Falls. And the turnaround was Al Tuck's house. The Tucks had the last place, which I believe Rod Schrage ended up, he bought, I think he still owns that place. But that was the turnaround, and turn around that little bus in the driveway, and we did have a little agreement with our bus driver that if she got stuck anytime, throughout that winter, and often did, that at the end of the year in the spring, she would take us to the Dairy Queen. There weren't that many kids on the bus, but she would take us to the Dairy Queen and treat us to ice cream cones, which was really cool. So we kept tabs, and she knew that we wouldn't let her off easy, definitely. So, and Al Tuck, just a little background, he remained in the valley for a long time, and he ended up opening that Elk Mountain automotive out on Elk River Road, where you take your Hondas, Subarus, and Toyotas.
Oh.
So that was established by Al Tuck. So he remained in there. And another thing, as my sister emphasized, that we spent a lot of time playing outside, and just with all our forts, and in the winter we had a lot more snow back then. I mean, a lot more snow, and we had enormous snowbanks, which served as an amazing playground. So we'd go out there with our wooden skis, and we'd ski pack. We would ski pack those snowbanks, and then my sister and her friends would build, well, we all would, but get logs, split logs that Dad had stacked, because we had a fireplace, and and he'd stack all these woods, but the logs would make perfect, building blocks for ski jumps. And we'd start small with maybe like a 3-log jump, and we of course marked. There were contests of how far you could ski jump. I mean, and it was a pretty good ramp, and you just have the jumping contest, and then as time went on and you get a little more snow, then you would increase the jump platform to maybe a 6-log jump. I mean, pretty substantial. And of course we had snow caves built in there, and we spent so much time out there, and it would get dark early in the winter, that my dad installed floodlights all the way out in the area, so our hill would be lit up. And we had snow caves and forts, and poor Mom, she had to go and try to find us out there and tell us we really needed to get to bed, that sort of thing.
Well, in the summer, all the kids in the neighborhood played kick the can outside until dark.
Yeah. And they had those, where the boys' market was, they used to have, they used to play little films, like for the local kids. And is that where the coffee shop is now? Or where the boys' market was?
I think it
now?
was actually down by the old, I don't know, somewhere down there was a community building. On one of the corners that
Well, that was on 6th Street.
Oh, on 6th
Okay.
Street.
Where the
where you
Good news.
and they would
Yeah,
just
okay.
have real movies, you know, when you could get 5 cent
Yeah.
candies, and that's the
Yeah.
only movies that you had in town. So you'd get a punch card with
Well, there was the
four
movie
tickets.
theater.
Well, we didn't know about that.
You didn't.
Yeah, and then there was the Ben Franklin, which was, they had penny candy at the Ben Franklin. So you'd save up to, you know, go buy penny candy at the Ben Franklin store. And I remember my sister here entering a drawing, and she won an ironing board.
Dad taught me.
Okay.
Hey, one thing, just seeing some faces out in the audience. I said I grew, as Steamboat grew. Schools, I believe I had like 20, 25. I had one class in elementary, you know, in the grade level. By middle school, it doubled. And all of these teachers who are now long retired came as 20-year-olds. And then it doubled again by the time I got to high school. So I graduated in 1980. There were 80 in the class of 80. Now it's a lot bigger, but
Yeah.
I felt like, you know, it doubled every thing. Anyway, Mom says we're out
Yeah.
of time, and we want to
So,
give
yeah.
you a chance for any questions or comments.
Any questions?
You're so thorough.
I know. Do you have any memories of the Square Dance Festival?
I know that they used to have square dances in the street.
Yes.
Yes.
And one year, the Perry Mansfield did a square dance on horseback.
Oh, yes.
Oh, wow.
They did. Yes, I think that is what prompted Lucy Vogue's book, Dances on
Yes.
Horseback.
Ah. Wonderful book. Do you
Yeah,
have that book?
and also
No,
her
yeah.
book about the college, which tells everything about the.
Miracle on
It's out of print now, but there are copies in our library and at the college library. Yeah. Well,
Thank you so much. That was
Yeah,
amazing.
very
Thank you,
good.
Marian.